A richly woven web of myth, metaphor, linguistics, and astronomy by April Vihilidal for UROC UNM 2021. The hypothesis in the null format. Myth, metaphor, and linguistics may not be utilized to state an astronomical season, describe a celestial body, and may not be utilized to describe, demonstrate, or reconstruct an astronomical phenomenon in an astronomical software program such as Voyager 4.5.7 via the following of the descriptive and directive words in the manuscript entitled The Odyssey by Homer. If the above can be demonstrated via the following, then it is no longer considered null. 1. If presented events in the Odyssey can be regarded as a description of an astronomical event, such as a full solar eclipse on a new moon in the Odyssey, then that said description can describe and can be used as a basis for the reconstruction of the astronomical event in an astronomical program such as Voyager 4.5.7 and 2, if the description of the said astronomical event, such as the full solar eclipse on a new moon in April 16th, 1178 BCE at high noon, and said description can simultaneously portray the human condition utilizing various astronomical events such as a. the pairing of the 29-day moon cycle with verses from the Odyssey prior to the eclipse, both actually and in metaphor. B. the pairing of the season of the eclipse in the northern hemisphere, both actually and in metaphor. And C. the reconstructing of the celestial bodies, including the new moon and the sun on the full solar eclipse of April 16th, 1178, both actually and in metaphor, to portray the human condition, then the above null statement is false, and all the above demonstrable statements are true. A square base with a triangular subfoundation found in the writing of the Odyssey, myth, metaphor, linguistics, and astronomy. The myths of the Greeks of 1178 BCE can describe the components of the Greek myths that are utilized in the climactic metaphor of the new moon and the full solar eclipse of April 16th, 1178 BCE in the vision of Theoclemenus, Book 20, verses 345 through 394. The linguistics of the Greek language of 1178 BCE describe the compound words that links a man to his grandfather by a word that is both the name of the man and the name of the grandfather, like avantos and autolykos, meaning wolf advantage and the wolf itself, connected via the words Lyca and Lykos, which both mean wolf, and connects both men to the wolf god of higher consciousness, Apollo, the sun god, and Artemis, the moon goddess of the hunt, the animal consciousness. The two verses from the Odyssey in Book 14, verse 161 and Book 19, verse 306 can demonstrate that a compound word does express the triangulation of the gods, man, and animal in relation to the new moon and the solar eclipse of April 16th, 1178 BCE at high noon. April Vihilidal's more accurate translation of the verses does demonstrate the relation successfully. The verses found in the Odyssey, Book 19, verses 149 through 153 describe and set the season for the astronomical new noon moon of April 16th, 1178 BCE. The collection of verses do explain the cycle of the said celestial body, the moon, via metaphor, and collectively they do describe the season, spring, in the northern hemisphere of Ithaca, Greece. They also describe the moon cycle via a metaphor connecting the weaving and then unraveling of the shroud of death as a metaphor and description of the moon waxing and waning. The pairing table that lists all 29 days of the moon's cycle leading up to the new moon and the full solar eclipse of April 16th, 1178 BCE at high noon in the northern hemisphere with the verses from the Odyssey that clearly describe 29 consecutive days in terms of the phases of the moon does exist. One example is on the following slide, demonstrating the 29th day of the moon cycle and showing the new moon in Taurus from an earthly view on the eclipse day, April 16th, 1178 BCE. An example from the pairing table, April 16th, 1178 BCE, 12:02 p.m., Earth in Taurus. The sky chart demonstrating the eclipse of April 16th, 1178 BCE at 12:02 p.m. If the above criteria can be met successfully, then myth, metaphor, and linguistics may be utilized to state an astronomical season, describe a celestial body, and successfully offer a description that can be used to demonstrate and reconstruct the astronomical phenomenon described by the words in the manuscript entitled The Odyssey by Homer. The full solar eclipse of April 16th, 1178 BCE. Therefore, the null hypothesis stated herein can be accepted as being false, as it is no longer null. Follow this flow code to see all 29 pairs of the moon's phases paired with the day-by-day cited verses from the Odyssey at Sphinx sphinxvihilidal.blog. Please go to sphinxvihilidal.blog for works cited. Thank you.